Hey everyone, George here. Just want to let you know about the Patreon Greg and I just opened. If you're interested in backing us, you could go to patreon.com, patreon.com, and look up the SNES podcast. We do not have a custom link yet, but if you're willing to back us, you get something back in return. That's crazy, isn't it? But hey, you know, you could get a shout out, you can get early access, or you can get even more. I'll let you explore our page here. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm glad that we have enough of a following to be able to open a Patreon page. So I'll let you look at that. And thank you so much. You're all beautiful people.
At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES. You're listening to the SNES podcast with your hosts, Soul Blazer and George.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Super NES podcast. Coming at you once again. I am Greg. He is George.
Bury me with my money.
That was pretty close.
It sounds better than the SNES version.
Well, I mean, like, you know, I actually meant that the quote was pretty close, but
No, it's literally bury me with my money.
This is episode number 97. We're recovering another port of a very popular, port of a popular Konami arcade game. We've already covered several of those in this podcast history, but this time we're looking at Sunset Riders. Which originally came out in the arcades in September 1991, and got released on the Super NES in North America and Europe only. Curiously enough, no Japanese release for this one in June 1993. So this was a pick from George. I think George had always liked the arcade game, like I did, but he was surprised we never had covered it yet.
Yeah, that's basically it. Because we were like, okay, what are we gonna do next? And you were like, well, I have a suggestion, and I was like, oh man, I never thought of Sunset Riders. Yeah, we should totally do that.
We've talked about doing it in the past. I mean, like, not you, other people before in the past. Right. But it just never came up.
I was surprised that it wasn't covered already.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you know, I was also like thinking about it recently because Vic Sage, who's a prominent podcaster on the Retro Nuggies Network, who does a whole bunch of like horror movie themed podcasts and some other stuff. He also does a podcast called Diary of an Arcade Employee, where he talks about a game that's featured at a classic arcade in Arkansas where he works at. And he did an episode on Sunset Riders about 6 months ago that was very good.
Oh, okay.
So he goes into very good detail about the arcade version, its history, its development, how that version of the game plays, and whatnot in that podcast. If you want to hear about the arcade version of the game, I highly recommend checking out that podcast. We're going to focus upon the differences between the arcade and the Super NES version in this podcast, and like how the Super NES version plays. But I will talk about the arcade game, just a little bit here to give some context. Obviously, this is a Konami release. Konami was certainly at the peak of their powers during the 80s and early 90s, in both the arcade and home market, and this game's no exception. It's a pretty typical run and gun game, and it reminds me a lot of other Konami games like this time period, like for example, like the TMNT games and also the Batman games, like how it plays. But it's fairly unique in having a Wild West theme, because not a lot of arcade games or console games for that matter, the flavor had like a Wild West theme to them. The computer market's a lot more common area to cover games in this genre for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but that's how it's always been over the years. But
don't ask me.
Konami also had produced a few years previously, and I really recommend playing this game because I think it holds up pretty well. This has always been a favorite of mine, like the NES, like a real hidden gem. Konami got the license to make a Lone Ranger video game for the NES like in the 80s, and it's a very good game actually.
I remember this.
It's a combination. Some stages are your typical side-scrolling action, and other stages are first-person where you do shooting, and you can either use the controller or the zapper to play through those stages. You really don't need to know anything about the Lone Ranger to enjoy it. It's very colorful, like very like good music, very fun game. So I guess maybe Konami decided to go back to the well, so to speak, with another like Wild West themed game. And so Sunset Riders was born. But this is a JAMA arcade game, the common board of the time period. The arcade game was released in both a 2-player and a 4-player version. The 2-player version, in my experience, is the more common one to find. That's the one. That's when I was played as a teenager. When I played this game like in the arcades.
That's really interesting. Whenever they make these variants, all you hear is most people are like, yeah, I always found the 2-player one or the 4-player one instead of the 4 or 6-player one or whatever.
It depended upon the game though, because like for example, the TMNT games, I always thought it was like 4 players.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And for example, the Capcom games, the Dungeon Dragon games, were always available to 4 players. So I guess it just depends upon the game. But the gameplay of this is your pretty typical run and gun style gameplay. It's not really much of a story per se. Just like you play, you're a bounty hunter basically, who's going out to claim various rewards by tracking down these big bad criminals.
Wanted dead or alive.
Yeah. There's 8 stages altogether in the game. And each stage has a theme, and you just go through enemies reskin enemies usually, but at least the enemies usually connect to the theme in some way, shape, or form. And then you have a boss fight at the end. So some of those bosses can be very, very difficult.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Speaking about Wild West themed games, another of my favorites, like in the NES, which was also originally an arcade game. How can I forget about this? Gunsmoke. That's a great game. Never heard of it.
Really, you need to play that one. Gunsmoke's an awesome game. The NES version is significantly different than the arcade version is, but I think the NES version of the game is very good. That's a Capcom game. It's a top-down 6-stage long game where you control a cowboy, and it has a couple of neat gimmicks to it. For example, you have two guns, and you push the A button, you shoot left. You push the B button, you shoot right. If you push both of them down at the same time, they shoot straight. And you can also get horses, which increase your hit points. And you have to find a wanted poster hidden in every stage. And until you find the wanted poster, you can't advance to the boss fight. So the stage will loop endlessly unless you find the wanted poster. And there's also the gimmick. I'm sure other games have done this. I'm just not sure of any games on the top of my head where you could buy every now and then from a shopkeeper various weapons. To make your shop stronger, shotguns, rifles, rapid-fire guns, that kind of stuff. But the money for it is taken away from your points. So your points kind of act like money in playing this game. So I can't think of any other games that kind of do a system like that.
I don't remember any of that.
But yeah. So Gunsmoke and Lone Ranger are 2 other Western themed console games that are highly recommended. So. But anyway, didn't mean to go off that tangent, but anyway, Sunset Riders is very typical in gameplay, I think, to most of the other Konami beat-em-ups at this time period. We already mentioned the Turtles games, the Batman games. The length of the game is about the same, half an hour to an hour long, depending on how good you are in the game. Difficulty, I think this game is fairly difficult. I don't think it's the hardest Konami arcade game, but it certainly is up there a bit for complexity.
Well, it was difficult to me.
So the game, the game came out for both. The game came out for both Genesis and the Super NES. The Genesis version came out first in December of 1992. The Super NES version followed 6 months later. Konami did not farm this out. Both versions of this game were developed in-house, played with consoles. But the Genesis version features significant differences. George and I were talking about this a bit off mic. I'm not sure why the Genesis version differs so much. I couldn't find anything on there about the card sizes. Maybe the Genesis card size was smaller for some reason. So maybe that's maybe because they figured that, or it could have been programming challenges or challenges to make it through port in the game, or maybe the program assigned the job just weren't simply super experienced at the hardware. That could be any number of reasons, but Genesis version of the game only features 2 out of 4 of the characters to select from, and only 4 of the 8 bosses.
That sounds terrible, dude.
The controls are remapped. The names are changed. The names are changed around because there's only 4 bosses. The stages are divided up into chapters instead. So it's you have 1-1, 1-2, 2-1, 2-2, and so on and so on.
You weren't kidding when you said this was neutered.
Bonus stages are different. And some of the icons, are different as well also. However, the Genesis version does have a 2-player versus mode, which the Super NES version doesn't have, so it's one thing going for it.
I don't care about that. I'd rather have the full arcade experience.
So, Konami tried very hard for most of their arcade Super NES conversions to make the game very close to the arcade game, and they usually succeeded. TMNT, Turtles in Time, for example, was very, very close to the arcade version. Sunset Riders also was very close to the arcade version. Most of the changes they made were for censorship reasons. Because even though Nintendo was not as strict with that then as it used to be, they're still. I imagine Nintendo still asked Konami to make some changes to this game for some of the things. For example, some of the saloon dancers from Stage 4 and the in the barmaid from Stage 1 are dressed more conservatively in the Super NES version compared to the arcade version.
Of course, it's a Nintendo console.
Yeah. So all the bosses speak in both the arcade and the Super NES version of the game. They have an opening line and a closing line after you beat them. They added in subtitles for those for the Super NES version, which the arcade version didn't have, and they also changed some of the wording of those lines slightly into less offensive lines. Pretty much.
Well, now I kind of figure out what these lines are.
They also because of censorship, also because of fear of offending somebody. Stage 6, which is the Native American stage, was changed quite a bit. This is the biggest change to the Super NES version of the game. The enemy characters, the Native Americans enemy characters in that stage were removed in place of regular outlaws, leaving only the boss as being Native American, who was called Chief Scalpum in the arcade game, and was renamed to Chief Wigwam in the Super NES version.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, but that's about it, really. I mean, everything else is pretty much the same. So, it's the graphics are a little bit different, of course, because the Super NES wasn't quite as powerful as the JAMA arcade board that was running the game, but these look very close to the arcade version. I don't know if you looked at any comparison photos or videos, George. There are several of them out there, but they're pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember, because I've definitely seen the arcade version before. Yeah, they look close enough. I mean, even just on their own, they look great.
I do question some of the car choices.
Yeah.
For example, the horse that you're on in one stage is kind of a reddish color, which kind of seems a bit strange, but yeah, whatever.
Wait, really? I only remember the horse being black.
Yeah, it depends upon the player that you play, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, some of the covers, I definitely was this with, like, TMNT Turtles in Time as well, also. The covers of the Super NES version are not quite as vivid or bright as they are like the arcade version of the game, because the hardware that's being used, but the graphical scaling and the models themselves are still the same. It's still, they're still a very graphically pretty game. There's still the parallax scrolling like in the arcade version of the game. The Wild West theme is still here. Still here, like, done very well. So, yeah, graphically speaking, this is the font at the top of the screen with like the like your score and whatnot. That's also giving me very Wild Westish font. So, yeah. So, like, overall, this is very very good looking Super NES game.
Yeah. Yes. Yep, I agree.
The music was carried straight over like an arcade game as well too. Good music. I mean, like, not a great soundtrack, I think, but it's still like a good soundtrack for what it is. Obviously, the main stages have a very like Western theme to them, so it fits the action very well, I thought. So, which is the thing that we care most about. So, like good music, I thought.
Yes, it's really nice.
So the gameplay itself, like, for those of you who haven't aren't very familiar with it, pretty basic controls. You have the A button, which you can use to be able to do sliding every now and then to be able to help to avoid shots or enemies or like whatnot. B allows you to jump. Y is your firing gun button. And X is only using the title screen. So because this was a three-button game originally, like in arcades. So they just map those buttons out to the A, B, and the Y.
I mean, you could make it a 3-player game. You give each person a different thing they can do, Yeah,
I suppose so. This is a 2-player version of the game. Also, if you want to, you can also play with a friend, which is very nice.
Which you're probably gonna need anyway. To be honest.
So you have 4 people to pick from the start of the game, like I said before, and unlike many other games, there are some differences. Like 4 players,
which I didn't realize. Totally forgot about this.
I'm sorry for not mentioning it earlier, but the main difference between them, besides their looks, looks their weapons, pretty much, because you have Steve, who's a cowboy. His weapon's a pistol. And you can also get power-ups like your weapons twice. You can do 2 power-ups to your weapons. A silver badge will allow you to power up the weapon once, and a gold badge will allow you to power up it again. So there's like 3 levels of power for the weapons.
You can get those separately, so I wouldn't say they're really levels, because one's automatic, and another one actually like upgrades your gun. Like it gives you like a second gun.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Right, yeah. The upgrades are the same across the board.
Yes.
The second weapon level gives you double shot, and the third level gives you the double shot with rapid fire function. So Steve has a pistol, which which has average range. Billy's just pretty much a cover palette swap of Steve. He's also a cowboy, and he also has a pistol.
He has a revolver. He has a. He has a 6-shooter, a 6-gun, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Yep.
Well, yeah, the game calls them both pistols.
Does it really? Yeah. But that's... Yeah.
Bob's more interesting. Bob's kind of like he kind of looks like a bounty hunter, actually, I thought.
Okay.
He has a very outdoorsman-like look to him.
Right.
And he uses a rifle, which has the best range of any weapon in the game. And finally, you have Cornando, your Mexican guy, who has a shotgun, which is a fun weapon to use.
I thought his name was Cormano.
Cormano, sorry. My Spanish is terrible.
I don't remember seeing a D in there.
So I think you said George, I think you said that he was your preferred character to play as.
Well, I played through the whole game as Billy, and then I was like, wait, what did these other characters do? And I was like, Dude, why didn't I play as Cormano? Because I got through the first level without dying using Cormano. The only time I died... Like, I only played through the first level with Cormano.
Right.
But the only time I died was when I was fighting the boss. I was like, dude, this is, like, so much easier.
Yeah, I usually used... Yeah, ever since the arcade, I've always liked to use Bob the most because Bob's rifle has the longest range, and range is so good in this game.
I feel like the characters are like a difficulty selection.
They're not designed as such, but they could be, because...
Right, well, like if you're playing as Billy, you only have one bullet going across the screen, and sure, the faster you tap, the faster you can shoot, and then you get an upgrade, and then he shoots slightly up with the second gun, sure. Right. But Cormano, you have a shotgun, and then when you get one of the upgrades, you have 2 shotguns, and then you get the next upgrade, and it's an automatic double shotgun. Like, that makes it so much easier. How is that not kind of technically difficulty in a way? You know?
Well, I suppose.
I mean, okay, let's be honest here. You want to fight off a bunch of enemies. Are you going to use two revolvers, or are you going to use 2 shotguns?
Depends on how much damage they do.
Oh my god, Greg. One bullet, one bullet or one pellet kills all. Okay?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. The bullets were designed in this game to just like the same amount of damage. If, like, at the same power levels at least. If you get different power levels, it's a whole different story, of course. But, yeah, I mean, like, you know, again, like, you know, like turtles. I mean, the 4 turtles were designed to be basically the same, but there are differences in gameplay style because the weapons they use and whatnot. Same thing here. So, I mean, like, I think it depends upon your play. So, I think which character your favorite depends upon your gameplay style.
Maybe.
So, there are 3 difficulty levels that you can have in this game: easy, normal, and hard. The only difference really between them is that the enemies shoot faster, like have better reaction time between the difficulty levels. So, you can also change the menu screen, and believe me, I love Konami having this like in their games. Besides the difficulty level, you can also affect the number of lives it continues to start off with, which is so good. And you can also do the sound test right there in the menu too, flags whatever you want to.
I kind of wish these games would give you unlimited, but
there is a code for that.
Yeah, there is. I used it to finally get through this game. I had a lot of trouble doing it without the code. I'll be honest with you.
There are a bunch of codes in this game, so since we're already talking about it, I might as well go over them like right now.
Sure.
There's no stage select per se. There is a stage select. On the character select screen, you push the L L L L L R R R R R. And
you okay over
character.
there? L L L L L R R R R. Sorry, go on.
It's 5 L pushes followed by like 5 R pushes. The shorter buttons. So, then pick a character, and you'll be able to do stage select. If you want to advance directly to the final level, however, you can go to the options screen and use the options screen like use the D-pad. Just like the D-pad to D-pad into the code left, up, right to go right to like stage 8. If you want to have extra players and continues on higher difficulty settings, on the main menu you can use another code and then go to options to select up to 5 players and 5 continues. Like for any of the difficulty modes, which is more than what the game usually gives you. There's also code to get extra continues. There's also code that allows you to play as the same character, like a 2-player game.
Oh, okay.
So,
2 Cormanos? Ooh.
Yep. You can do that. So, so the overall, the game does a pretty good job, I thought, of ranking scale of difficulty as you go through the stages, except for the boss fights. The boss fights I felt were very unfairly unbalanced.
Yeah, I had easier times with some later bosses. Yeah, compared to some of the earlier ones. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because some of those bosses, they are brutal.
Oh, yeah, certainly. They certainly are.
I thought I had notes here in the bosses, but I don't think I kept it in this version of the guide. Give me 1 second, I'll find it because I'll find it here because I do want to talk about the bosses here, like for a moment.
There's an Indian guy, and there's a guy that wants to be buried with his money, and there's another guy that he shoots at you, but then you shoot him, and he pulled it back to the future on you, and he's got a metal plate, and then you gotta fight him again. Is that good enough? Do you want me to stall for more time?
No, that's good.
Okay.
I got it here. So I'll talk about the stage in this game like real quick here, just to give some overall, thing. Stage 1's kind of like your intro, the intro level, like the town level, I think.
Yeah.
So, not that hard.
Oh no, not at all.
Simon Greedwell is the boss. He plays the boss of the stage, worth $10,000.
How much money is that in like current time?
That's
a lot.
Well, if you assume, I've always assumed that to be current day because $10,000 was worth a lot of money back then.
That's what I was thinking, but
they wouldn't.
Even if it was $10,000 in the 90s, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Right. Yep, it is. So, stage 2 is the stage 2 like one of the horror stages.
I hate these stages. I really do.
Oh, why is that? Because I really like these.
Because it's so annoying. I feel like the hit detection on the guy who's dropping the logs is like inconsistent. I can never hit him until like, I don't know, at a certain point. I don't know. It's really just it's annoying. I think my problem is that the hitbox you have is so huge and you have hardly any space to maneuver around these bullets. I think that's the problem that I have with it.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get hit. Even if there's like, there's usually only like 2 guys shooting at you on the screen at maximum, but it's so easy to get hit because you're so close to them and your hitbox is so big.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I kind of enjoy the fast-paced action of the game. We haven't talked about that yet, but the Super NES, for its reputation for being a slower system, this game is very fast-paced, especially in the horror stages.
Right, it is.
The action comes at you fast and furious. The bosses, your character, your character and the enemy characters are large sprites. There's no flicker, there's no slowdown. The game animates.
That's another thing that I really like. Is just I haven't seen any flicker or slowdown or anything, and that's amazing.
Konami solved that problem that they had with the early games because the launch games had some slowdown problems, but by now they had but at this point they had all the issues worked out. So this keeps the fast frantic gameplay that the arcade game does, and it can be more frantic like in the horror stages, which may be like one reason that you didn't like it as much. Plus, also, like you said, the hitbox being bigger is like totally fair because that is an issue. In this stage, you're pretty much chasing after like a wagon at first, finally going after a train. Later on to the boss, Hawkeye Hank Hatfield, who's worth $20,000. After this is bonus stage. How'd you like that? So what do you think of the bonus stages?
I thought it was cool for the first time, and then after that, I was like, I really don't want to play this. But I usually got like most of them anyway. I hit most of the targets anyway, but
it's a lot hard to do in one. Yeah, it's a lot hard to do in one player versus versus 2 player because in this bonus stage you have to shoot like 50 people to be able to get the max. So the max bonus.
Right, I usually got something like 47 or something like that. Yeah.
So, stage 3 is a hotel / tavern stage. Enemies toss dynamite at you this one, which is a real pain in the you-know-what. So,
in the butt?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. You can say butt, Greg, it's okay.
Yeah, gotta be careful like those guys. So
this stage kind of reminded me of what is the name of that game? Where it's like Wild West, but it's more of a shooter than a side-scrolling shooter. It's like you get a cursor and everything. What game is that?
I think I know what you're talking about.
You're like sitting behind cover and you shoot bullets at people. I'm not explaining this well.
Oh, yeah. You're thinking about the that was a Wild Gun, wasn't it?
I think that's right. Actually,
yeah. Mike and I covered Wild Guns way back when in an early episode of this podcast. That's also, that's also like a rare game on the system.
Oh, but, it was certainly Wild Guns. Actually, didn't they make a remake or whatever recently on the PS4?
Yep, I've not played it yet, but I heard like it's very good.
I might have to pick that up. If it's multiplayer, you might have to pick that up too.
I'm waiting for a sale price for that one because I still want the full price for it.
Wait, really?
But, well, full price being like $30, but
yeah, still.
But yeah, no, but you're right. I totally forgot about that. That's another Western themed game. Yeah, that one's very good.
Oh, it's on the Switch as well.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yep.
It's got a low rating on Amazon for some reason, and it's $60.
Yeah.
The PS4 version is $27 on sale.
That's download only, I think. There is a retail release of that game on the PS4, but it's not as common. It's not as easy to find. They didn't. They didn't make a big run of that.
Well, that's interesting because Amazon's selling it for $27.
Not bad.
No.
But anyway, speaking about runs, this game also apparently.
This one gives me the runs. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, this game had a big run, but we'll talk about pricing later on in the end because another thing this game has in common with Wild Guns. But anyway, this stage's boss is Dark Horse. He's worth $30,000. Stage 4 is not really a stage per se. It's more like a great big boss fight against the Smith Brothers. Who play with like $40,000.
Hate these guys.
Yeah, we'll talk about the bosses here in a moment.
Yeah.
But stage 5 is another outside / train stage. So you're going after El Greco, who's worth $50,000. Then even the bonus stage after this, bonus stage 2 is still very similar to the first bonus stage. 50 characters to kill. Stage 6 is the Native American stage, the one we talked about earlier that got changed the most, like the arcade version of the game. So, it doesn't have the Indian theme that the arcade version did, but it is still outside.
I also find it interesting he's the only boss that you don't kill.
Yeah, it's true.
Was it like that in the arcade version as well?
I don't remember with the arcade version of the game. They probably changed that for this.
I'm thinking they might have changed that.
So yeah, like Chief Wigwam's the boss of the stage, $60,000. Stage 7 is the horse stage, so yay for that. And it's much harder. And if you thought the first horse stage was tough, oh boy. This one's very very challenging. So, Paco Loco is your boss. You should play your boss in this one, $70,000. Finally, you have the final stage of the game, which is kind of like the enemy fortress area per se, against a very strange guy for a final boss, Sir Richard Rose, who's English. Go figure. So, I don't know. $100,000. Like we're knocking him off. So. So yeah, the bosses, we were talking about this earlier, the bosses are definitely kind of uneven difficulty, I thought. He's very easy, the first boss, Simon's very easy, regardless of what gun you have. But already in stage 2, Hawkeye Hank, if you don't know what to do, he's definitely a challenge. It's very strange to have a boss in this game be this tough. There is a fairly easy to learn pattern that you can use to beat this guy. And once you learn that pattern, he goes down pretty quickly. But if you don't know it, he seems like a very unfair difficulty spike. So yeah.
Just an update: you definitely do not kill Chief Scalp'em in the arcade version.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I had to look that up. I wanted to let everybody know.
Stage 3 is the Dark Horse fight. This one is tricky. I wouldn't call it difficult. Not as hard as stage 2. It's just it's kind of it's a long fight because you have to like wear him down.
yeah.
So I think it's the thing that's probably the hardest thing like this fight. The Smith Brothers though stage 4. Hardest boss fight in the game, I think. These guys are a real challenge.
I want to say, it's difficult to assess, but I think maybe the last boss battle might be actually harder, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean he's tough, but I think these guys are harder only because there's 2 of them against you. So I mean, once you beat one of them, it gets a bit easier.
You know what it is? You know what? Maybe they are more difficult because they throw bombs, and bombs are so overpowered in this game. Like,
one throws a bomb, one shoots you. Trying to avoid both at the same time, good luck, because you're gonna need it.
The bombs have like a huge blast radius. It's crazy. Yeah. It's like a mini mushroom cloud.
Right, and you can't shoot and you can't shoot at one of the bosses directly. You have to shoot the tavern sign. He was using a shield, so.
Oh, see, what I did was I jumped up on the chandelier and I shot them from there.
That's a good strategy to use. Yep, I was going to say that. That's it's definitely one way to do it. Whereas like Pearson, stage 5, like El Greco, I think he's probably one of these bosses of the game.
The easiest is definitely the first one.
Well, I mean, next to him.
Okay, yeah, I think I would agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, you just keep jumping around and avoiding his whip, and you got him. So
yeah.
But stage 6, Chief Wickham, I think is the second hardest boss in the game.
I would agree with that. Definitely, he blocks your shots. You have to do crazy Hollywood fantastic maneuvers.
And those knives he throws at you, it's unfair.
Just the dude. Yep.
Yeah, you definitely will be using a lot of lives trying to bring him down. So, when you learn his pattern, he gets a little bit easier, but he's still like a very, very tough fight. Definitely for sure.
Yeah.
So, stage 7, Paco Loco. He's a medium difficulty boss, I think.
It's pretty easy.
Well, I find it to be like fairly difficult.
There's a pattern. So, like, what I like to do is usually worry about the guys in the background because they don't infinitely come back. They eventually, eventually they just they're gone. So I take care of that, and then fighting this guy was really easy because there's a pattern. He just kind of follows where you are, so you just keep moving, and then you just keep shooting him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and then and then finally stage 8, the final fight by Sir Richard Rose. I think he's probably, I don't know. He's debatable if you want to say it's the hardest or second hardest boss fight in the game. It's definitely up there in difficulty. Because he has a balcony he's protecting him for most of the fight. So like the first part of the game, the first part of the fight, you're trying to pretty much just like outlast him or shooting the balcony and destroy it.
Yeah.
And once the balcony goes, then you can start getting your licks. But also this fight, like the stage 6 fight, he does have limited. Once you reach the second part of the fight, he does have a limited supply of guards. So once you shoot all the guards, it makes it like a little bit easier.
Yep.
So
the strategy I had was when I wore out the balcony and all the other guys were gone, I would just jump up there. He would actually follow you. You could get some shots in. You can jump down and you can kind of slide around and stuff and kind of dodge.
This is also the boss that pulled that bulletproof plate trick I talked about earlier.
Yep. Yeah. When I saw that happen, I was like, "Oh no! Now I have to do this again." You think
you won, and it's like, surprise!
Yeah.
Nope. Got to do it all over again.
I mean, it was really clever of them to have a setup like that for the main villain of this game.
Oh,
that was very clever of them. So
I still question why the heck he's English, but it's like
all English people are evil. Obviously, that's what I've learned from video games.
The enemies are really I'm talking about too much in this game because they're too much of the game because they're pretty generic. Just pretty much there's simply like template swaps between them.
Right.
You have your burglar, which is generic fat guards, which are typical mini arcade games this time period.
Generic guys with guns.
Yep. Your bomb throwers, your dynamite throwers, your flame throwers. The flame throwers are nasty. The green guards, who are your gun shooters for the most part.
Yeah.
Knife guards and purple guards, who are a little bit harder version, like the green.
Oh,
guards.
those knife guys.
So,
You know, like if you're not paying attention, they'll get you.
the knife guys are hard. The flamethrower guys can also toast you quite easily if you're not paying attention. So
Toasty.
And the dynamite throwers can be tricky, especially if you're distracted by like somebody else.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. But unlike some other Konami games, you see the full game, the full ending on easy mode. Some of the games like Turtles, if you play in easy mode, you don't get the best ending. The ending in this game, the wording changes a little bit, but you still get a good ending regardless of like what different level that you beat the game on. So kudos for that. At least.
I hate when games do the thing of, oh, you're playing on easy, you don't get to play the full game, or you get something different and it's not as good. It's annoying because, you know, games should be open for anybody regardless of skill. And, you know, I don't want a game to be super easy, you know. I want challenge there, but, you know, not everybody's really good at these types of games.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. And this one, like I said earlier, I think this one is fairly difficult for, like, you know, your typical running gun games.
Yeah.
Not the hardest one out there, but it's certainly a challenge. You know, this game is obviously designed to be a quarter muncher like in the arcades, and they kept that difficulty coming with the Super NES. So, but
don't eat quarters. That's not good for you.
Yeah, this game certainly ate a lot of quarters in the arcade. It was a very, very popular game.
That's why I went blind.
So the Super NES version of this game rated very, very highly. It certainly got a lot of positive marks like when it came out.
Not surprising at all, really.
Yeah. So just to give a couple comparisons here. Let's see here. Super Play. I never heard of this magazine, but you know it was a fairly popular one from the time period. For example, it gave like 87%. Let's see.
What's the lowest rating?
Lowest rating of the Super NES version of the game looks like to be about a. Well, let's see. I'll go to Game FAQs like real quick. They have a summary here about the ratings.
Well, I'm sure you'd be able to find like a Metacritic or something, no?
Yeah, but they also have one like on here too.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Let's see. Well, if you give it a more modern contemporary rating, there's a 2 out of 5, which really seems like a whack.
What? Who did that?
Yeah.
And where can I find him?
The lowest conventional rating on a scale like 5 would be about 3.5. So
Really?
The average rating was like 4 out of 5.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I guess 3 still isn't bad. 3 out of 5 isn't so bad, but 2? Who said that? It also ranked higher. Obviously, the Genesis version of the game because of all the differences. There's between the two versions. Right.
IGN, when they did their 100 best Super NES games several years ago, rated as 88th, like in their list.
Okay.
So.
Not too crazy about IGN, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough competition because Super NES has great games for it. So.
I mean, they did a really good joke with the God of War thing recently that they pulled down, and because some people are upset.
I heard about that.
Yeah, so stupid.
I saw it. I gotta go.
They finally did something actually like not too bad, and then it's just like people started crying. Anyway, let's go back to this game.
Yeah. Well, I think that this game suffers the same flaw that any kind of run and gun game of this time period does. After a while, after you master the game, it gets boring. But
I think part of the problem is that you can't stand still and aim.
True.
That's the only problem I have. But other than that, not really. I mean,
Yeah,
other
the
than
controls I thought
difficulty,
were pretty good.
difficult,
Yeah,
but
it's like-
I just
right.
suck.
Yeah. No, the controls I thought were pretty good. I mean, like, I really didn't have any problems with that per se.
Yeah.
The slide skill is critical to master because that slide skill can get you into some tough spots.
Certainly.
Yeah, but yeah. So as far as running guns go, I mean, it's very, very good by running gun standards. It's certainly, this is again why Konami was so highly thought of during this time period because, like, they because this game's talk right up there, like along Turtles, Turtles in Time, and also Simpsons and X-Men for being the great arcade running gun games this time period.
Right.
Anybody mention those games, we'll mention this one too. So, very popular games, are very popular games are very popular today. Which is backed up by the pricing. So because I can't imagine this game at a small print run being like Konami and being the game so popular. It had to have a huge print run because there was no reason for Konami to make a limited copy, limited edition of a game release for a game that's popular. So I had to have a very large print run, and that's kind of supported by numbers it's by numbers of the game I saw on eBay. There are 45 copies of the game currently listed, with 153 copies that recently sold. However, I did not realize this until I started looking for it. This is also a Super NES game that, like Earthbound and a couple other games, has been highly reproduced. So, buyer beware if you're shopping this game on eBay because, however, I will say this: all the reproductions I saw were clearly marked as being repros.
Buyer beware, you're in for a scare.
Yeah, as long as you read the title and description, the sellers don't hide the fact that it's a repro. I think it's why eBay hasn't yanked those auctions down yet because the fact they're clearly saying what it is.
I know there are a good amount of people who do sell repros that actually mark it on the cartridge, either on the label or the cartridge itself, that it is a repro.
Yeah, I didn't see any of those in this case, but
okay.
the auctions at least did say clearly that they were like reproductions.
Okay.
So, and this game has not been re-released over the years. Not even the arcade version of the game has been re-released at all.
Really? Wasn't in any kind of arcade collection or anything?
No, not to my
Really?
surprise.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
So yeah, if you want a physical copy of the game, there's nothing wrong with having a reproduction of the game. You want a physical copy as long as you know that's what you're buying. Because repro prices are not that bad. The repros for obviously card only for those guys. They sort anywhere, and these prices include shipping. They sort anywhere from $14 to $32.
Oh, okay.
Which is okay. Which is okay for what it is. I mean, of course, it's not the real thing, but you don't care about that. You just want a physical copy of the game to play. That's what it is. You want the real thing though? That's going to cost you. Real copies of this game is anywhere from $49 to $106.
Okay.
And CIB gets even worse.
Uh-oh, please tell me.
Yeah, CIB can run anywhere from $119 to $313.
Oh, jeez.
And this game had a poster included with it also, George, just so you know.
Ooh.
So
is it a nice poster?
I didn't see any pictures of it laid out. I just saw the folded up version of it, in the boxes. So I can't tell.
I got a bunch of posters I gotta put up on the wall.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for Super NES pricing, the car prices are not crazy. I mean, they are on the high side. They're about equivalent to what Earthbound and some other uncommon games are these days. But CIB though, that's going to cost you like quite a bit if you want the game complete.
Yeah.
So
That's a shame.
But yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea that there were so many repros of this game might be made. Not only that, there's also some 3-in-1 and 4-in-1 combos being sold out there, which also included this game as part of that, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
So again, if you don't care, play get a multi-cart with this game and a few other games on it. So overall impressions, I'm a big fan of the arcade game. I enjoy Turtles in Time a little bit more than this game, I think, overall. But this is still a very, very fun game. Like I said, the Wild West theme is very unique. It's a very fun, fast-paced, frantic shooter. The Super NES version of this game is a very, very good port, like an arcade game. They really did a great job porting it over, I thought. Minus the censorship changes and the graphical touches. It's a very close copy of the arcade game. 2-player mode. I have played it. I have played it like the arcade 2-player. It's not easier. It's also a lot more fun 2-player mode, but it's still a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun single-player mode as well. Also. The only gripes I have about the game, and the gripes you already mentioned earlier, the bosses are very unfair difficulty scale, and they're a little bit tougher than they should be in this game. I think overall, and pulling off some of the control moves can be a little bit complicated at first until you get the hang of things. But minus those weak points, this is a very, very fun game. Anybody who enjoys running gun shooters who never play this like whatever reason, should definitely check this out because I think it's still I think it's still a lot of fun to play today as it was like when it first came out.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Okay. You wanted me to talk. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea here.
All right. This is a podcast, right? Yeah, no, this is a great game. I did not really play the arcade version, so I don't really have a true comparison, but it is definitely fun to play. I wish I did get a chance to play with somebody else. This is definitely a game that you would want to play with somebody. 4 players sounds awesome. Wish I could do that.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I don't really have anything else to really say different from what you said. Boss difficulty is just it's all over the place, and it's a great game. It looks great. It sounds great. It's pretty cool.
And can the final thoughts, since George likes to talk about speedruns.
Right.
This game was done at a recent AGDQ, which I believe stands for Amazing Games Done Quick.
Awesome Games Done Quick.
Awesome Done Quick. Yeah, back 2012 live. They did it in just under 19 minutes. 18 minutes and 59 seconds. The world record appears to be 18 minutes and 19 seconds. So pretty close to that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Oh, it certainly is, considering it. It took me 500 hours to finish this. That's not true.
You probably use save states quite a bit too, huh?
I only use save states to save progress when I took a break.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
So, but anyway, yeah, this is still a great game that holds up very well today, and it makes me sad playing it because I'm just like, man, Konami's just a show like what they used to be. How the mighty have fallen.
What are you talking about? They're putting out games like Metal Gear Survive and the Metal Gear Pachinko and the Castlevania Pachinko and think of another Konami property and insert it here, Pachinko. You got a big rig going on in the background passing by? What was that?
Motorcycle property.
Oh, okay.
It's finally starting to get a little. It's finally starting to get a bit warm here in Providence, in late April. So,
that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
But this this is one of those years. But this is one of those years like where Joker goes like winter to summer. So, because it's gonna be in this, because make it 80 on Wednesday next week. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so no spring here. So, it is like it is finally, it is finally starting to get like a little bit milder finally. So that's good. But
Yeah, it's getting pretty hot over here. Ugh.
So anyway, I think that pretty much wraps this up. I can't think of anything else to say about this game. Like, can you, George?
Play it.
Yep, play it for sure. With somebody else if you can.
Yes.
But anyway, so that's gonna wrap up this episode. We are a proud member of both the Retro Junkies and Throwback Network. We can find a bunch of other great retro-themed podcasts, both gaming and non-gaming related. Such as Vic's Diary of an Arcade Employee podcast that I plugged earlier in this one. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, etc., you can leave us a comment on our Facebook page, or you can also email me directly if you want to at the SNESpodcast@yahoo.com. Very much appreciate both of those. And if you want to give us a review for the review on iTunes, that'd be very much appreciated as well. George, where can we find you at if the listener is so inclined?
Well, if you're really interested, I guess I'll let you know. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Chief. That is at MISTURCHEEF. I also do another podcast with Greg, PlayStation Power. This is not family-friendly podcast, but I also do Master System Masterpieces, which is part of the Retro Junkies network. We talk about Master System games, if you couldn't tell, and I guess I do stream it on Twitch. I guess same name as my Twitter. That's not family friendly either at all. But yeah.
So next episode, 98, we're going to be looking at another Japanese-only game, which is only kind of technically Japanese, only because this particular port of the game never came out in the West, but people are very familiar with the original games that this game is based off of. We are looking at the Japanese-only Super NES versions of the Dragon Quest games, the first two Dragon Quest games, which came out here in the States, Dragon Warrior.
Go on.
Yeah, and for a while, George was using level up music, like his email tone, like on his phone.
Maybe. No, it wasn't email. It was just in general notification.
Just in general? Okay, all right, yeah. Right. Oh yeah, that's right. You still use the AOL one for email. You got mail.
Yep. Let's just talk about my phone for the rest of the episode.
But anyway, yeah. So Dragon Quest as a series is now known by, because that was the name of it in Japan. They re-released the games for the Super NES. The first two games were included together like one pack. Super Dragon Quest 3 came out later on by itself. With some gameplay differences. The graphics and music were of course given like an update.
It's like a Super Mario All-Stars type of deal.
Right. Yep. And they also changed the ratio of enemies and how much experience and gold the monsters gave you to allow you to level up faster. Which is particularly noticeable in the first Dragon Warrior, because you can get that game half the time that the original NES game did.
Oh yeah, they did that with the phone version.
Yep. But anyway, there's very good there's very good patches out there with translate the game like in English fully. So it's very easy to find. It's just like if I can play these. We're also getting ready to do our 100th episode pretty soon.
Oh, jeez.
Pretty soon. Which is going to be a special one. We're working out the details. We're going to be having a special format of a game draft, which we've done before some other podcasts, where we're going to have a bunch of special guests from us, fellow podcasting hosts, who are going to pick like a draft in random order. Which reminds me, George, this is how much I like doing this podcast. Like, I'm just saying, about drafts, like to record this podcast with you. So be thankful. But, speaking about like drafts,
yeah.
So we're gonna go like around the order, the table randomly, and pick our 5 favorite Super NES.
Wait,
games.
we're gonna sit at a table together? Are you flying everybody out? Oh.
I wish I could. Yeah, Yeah, I wish I could. That'd be like pretty fun.
Oh, that would be great.
But so if we have a podcast hosts interested, which looks like we may, we're going to be doing like two separate episodes.
Oh, jeez.
Because like 5's about as much people as you want to cram to a podcast at one time.
What are you talking about? Let's cram 10 people in. Skype supports up to... Actually, I think Skype supports up to 8. I forget.
I think it is 8, yes.
There we go. 8-person podcast. There you go. It's just going to be utter chaos.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that's coming up pretty soon. Tentatively scheduled the first week of June. So more details on that. More details on that likely like forthcoming. So anyway, as always, we always appreciate your support and listen to us very much. And go out there and be a bounty hunter in life and like rack up the big kills.
Hasta la bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man. Now you're playing with power. Deep power.